So you and I were texting the other day, David, and just talking about, um, you're coming down to the end of the season for soccer, men's and women's soccer, and there's some challenges that have kind of presented themselves. I'm sure they do in most seasons with most teams, and maybe you and Aleksey can elaborate on that and maybe recreate some of the conversations you guys have had, when discussing how to coach teams and coach individuals and where you've ended up in some of the directions that you guys have taken.
I think we've just come to the realization that you get to a certain point in the season where you've exhausted every possible resource you can in terms of preparation, physiologically, psychologically, tactically, technically, everything, and at a certain point, like it comes down to the kids. Like they have to go out there and execute. They have to fight. They have to put that extra bit of effort into doing what they need to do to get the job done. Is the $1 million question is, like at this point as coaches, like, what do we do? Do we continue to do what we've been doing? And at what point do you just really leave it up and put it in the kids' hands where it's like, it's, you guys have every resource that you need. It's time to go out there and just get the job done. And for me, it was more just taking a look at like the entire season or the off season, in season, what we've done, and scratching my head going like, man, coulda, woulda, shoulda, what we do differently, and really not coming up with too many different answers for that. I feel like we had a great plan, great communication as a staff. We've leaned on our leadership on the team to communicate things with us. And, at this point, what's the next thing?
Well, I feel like the game of inches, that's the game we play. I mean, it's not like it's a big gap between winning and losing. And when you are in a happy space, like we were at the beginning of the season, the main thing is just to continue the happy space, not to get complacent and kind of start thinking, okay, we are untouchable, or we are in a space that is going to put the uniform on and the result's going to come our way. I feel like when you do have that success early on, the targets become bigger, and that people coming at you at a little bit more, you know what I mean? They think it's the big game for them. And for us, I feel like after every big result, we had some unbelievable results. We had some great performances. The next game after, it's a big drop, and that's the issue for me as far as keeping the guys motivated. As far as that, for me, when I was a player, I feel like anytime I had something like this, I felt like, okay, let me build this on it. Let me add something to it, because I knew now that the scouting and the way the teams are preparing for you, they're gonna know your good the things you do well on the field. You know what I mean? They're gonna be more prepared for this, so you got to be excel even more at that. With that being said, I think our guys work extremely hard this year. I mean, they put in work, you know what I mean? We just got a couple unlucky results there and there along the way. And sometimes when you do get those unlucky results, you start doubting yourself, you start questioning yourself, you start, confidence is a big thing in sports. I mean, like I said, in the beginning of the year, we felt like first 5 games, we were so competitive, so good that there's confidence going through the roof, and then you drop a couple of games, everything is in question. So for us, is the main thing to get guys back into this level of, okay, you can do this. You know what I mean? It's within you. Now everything is matter. Every hour of the day is matter. What do you do after training session? You put in the proper nutrients. You get in enough rest. You are staying away from a social events that is occurring right now. And for me, that's what win games, because I don't see the games winning. I mean, we won 4-1, 4-5-1, whatever. Most of the games, important games, are done by one goal, by a play that it's just somebody's making a great play. Why? Because they're more alert, more focused, more prepared for that. And that's what our guys got to start understanding. And for me, the most important thing is everything is in your hands. Everybody's 0-0-0 when it becomes a playoff time. So that's the main thing with it. The records aside, now everybody's playing for the lifeline.
Yeah. I mean, what popped into my head was like the old NFL coach going one game at a time, and like,
yeah, for sure.
It's a cliche and it seems way overused, but it's so true in this case that you guys are talking about, right? I mean, just being present in like you have a good result, and then how do you recreate what you did prior to the game that you had success in, right? And how do you minimize mistakes? I mean, talk about some of the reactions that you guys have gotten from, the players, the kids that have to go out there and make it happen. I mean, where are they mentally with all this?
I think our players appreciate our consistency with our approach. Like we haven't done anything drastically crazy out of like an emotional reaction to a loss. Like we've been very consistent with like how we run training and how we prepare, how we talk to them. I mean, we've had to have some difficult, honest conversations with the guys. Aleksey and the staff have. But at the end of the day, like me personally, I've just tried to be very consistent with them, and nothing changes in regards to like our identity and who we are and how we prepare. But I think that was kind of like the aha moment I was having as I was texting you, is just realizing that like at some point, kind of like being a parent, you've got to be like, I've done all I can do to help you. Now you have to go out and do it. Like you have to make it happen. And I'm still going to be in your corner no matter what happens. But like, you have the resources you need. Go get the job done.
Right.
Yeah. The way for me is this: we have not lost the game this year because the other team was technically better than us. For me, you lose because if you're not hungry enough on a certain days, and the other team shows up to play with a lot more intensity, a lot more focus, a lot more concentration. That's what wins the game at this level. Everybody's good enough to pass the ball. Everybody's good enough to get in a dangerous area of the field. But for me, that's the body language that you know what I mean? The focus, the main focus, you know what I mean? The angriness, the way you come out on the field, you know what I mean? That's what wins the game at this level, because you can go number 1 team in the country against number 50 team in the country, and everybody's got a chance if you come up with the proper mindset. Now, if both teams come up with the proper mindset, number 1 team will have a little bit more advantage because they are in some ways more technical, more in that sense. But if you are bringing that intensity, that you have a great game plan, kids are playing together, I mean, you always have a chance.
Right. And so where does the right mindset come from? I mean, a lot of kids or a lot of people think, it's listen to loud music on game day, or, but it starts way back when they're preparing with you, right, David? I mean, it's like in May or whatever it is when you start working with them, that's when the right mindset is developed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to like controlling the controllables. Like worry about the things that you have direct control over. When you're on the field, focus on things that you do well and executing, not worrying about making a mistake or doing something wrong, or worrying that the coach is going to yell at you if you do this versus that. Like you have to trust your training, and you have to trust your preparation, and confidence should flow from that. And I think sometimes guys maybe get a little too nervous. They're afraid of negative outcomes, and typically when that happens, like you don't get the best product on the field.
Yeah, you can't play afraid, that's for sure. I mean, you have to be confident in your abilities. That's why you're out there on the field. I mean, if you do have doubt yourself, you're already man down or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And that doubt is such a thing that one start feeling, the next start feeling. You know what I mean? It's like a chain reaction. It's the same thing with the good feelings, right? You are comfortable, you are confident. You know what I mean? You are aggressive. One leads another one, and it's a team effort. The beauty about the team sport, that's just not one guy. You know what I mean? It's 11 guys on the field, plus, who I was out there supporting them coming from the bench. So, yeah, it's I'm not saying we're in a tough spot. I think we are in a good spot right now. You know what I mean? It's just the guys just got to get healthy physically. You know what I mean? And they got to start understanding that every inch is matter at this point. Should have been like this all throughout the season, but right now, if you can get an inch on something, as far as rest, as far as preparation, sleep, food, whatever it is, that's what's going to win you at the end. I truly believe that, because when I was a player, I felt that way. You know what I mean? And that's how I used to prepare. And sometimes, when you are in a very positive spell, sometimes could be like, I don't know how to say this, but I felt always responsibility. as a responsibility now, I have to perform even better to get the next result. You know what I mean? And that's how you keep teams below you down, because you give them no chance right from the get-go. Instead of being satisfied and thinking, well, we just won a game very comfortably, you know what I mean? The next game is going to be the same way because we're just going to put the uniform on. That's not how it works, unfortunately. We're fortunate, actually, because because the game is so beautiful.
Who did you feel responsible to?
Well, first of all, myself, right? I mean, I feel like, if you perform at a high level, the teams are going to be, centered on you. You're going to be the key piece for that, So if I'm scoring goals, well, listen, I got to do something for the team to win a game. If it's not scoring goals, I got to do all the different elements of it. If I'm in a struggle period, but I still got to perform for a team. So, and that type of setting, you know what I mean? Not doubting yourself, staying always staying ready. For me, it was focused, you know what I mean? Just always coming in there. I'm a jokester, but when it comes to the game time, it's all zoned in, especially when I was a player. It was a little bit different, it was just
right.
No smiles, no anything else. You're just kind of in that zone, all throughout the day, no friends almost, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like something that you feel, but how do you communicate that, and how do you coach kids to develop that muscle, so to speak?
Well, you just telling them, you know what I mean? You tell them, you keep reminding them about that. Keep reminding them about, I mean, before let's say night before every big game, you tell them, guys, put the proper nutrients in you, get a proper sleep, reminding them all this stuff. And it's up to them to do the right thing night before, day off. I mean, if it's on the road, it's a little bit easier to control because you are together with them. You know what they're eating. You know what time they're going to sleep. You know what time they're waking up, what kind of breakfast they get, and it's all provided for them. Home games a little bit different, so it's up to the kids. You can tell them, and they like David said, they're the one who's executing all this stuff.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that question, though. I mean, how do we teach that to kids? I mean, I feel like some of it has to be organic, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't fake confidence, you can't fake preparation, and like sometimes like you hear chatter between kids before games or in training, and it's a little fabricated, right? And like I think there has to be this like really organic, like real sense of like confidence and just self-assuredness because you're prepared and go out there. And it doesn't mean you're incapable of being beaten or making mistakes, but it means that you have no doubt. You have no doubt, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, Aleksey, I think it was you. Yeah, it was definitely you that said, I mean, sometimes the kids aren't hungry enough, and that's why they're not producing results, right? I mean, so you can't really teach hunger, right? For like the strong desire just to get it done.
If you love something and if it's important enough for you, I think you are going to be. I really feel that way. I mean, it's I always felt that way. The game was very, very important to my existence. To my life. So I always felt that way. And then I feel a lot of our guys on the team feel the same way. I don't know if they are completely, you know what I mean? Like for me, the game was the only way out. So the hunger was inside instilled every day. And then listen, the kids are different nowadays. So I'm not sure what so you just reminded of them. You keep talking to them about it. You trying to get through some of them, and you get through a couple of them. Maybe they can bring a couple more kids in, and then you become a whole team.
Right.
And that's the culture. That's the culture. What we were talking about. That's the culture that, let's say, David start creating that in mid-July.
Yeah.
You and I texted about talent, right? Well, I think what's difficult for some of our guys transitioning from maybe high school club soccer to this level is that like there's a lot of talent, right? And so that's where the hunger piece comes in. And maybe they've never had to be that hungry to have success, but at this level, it 100% is about your hunger level, right? Because everybody that comes in was like somebody that was a big deal where they came before, right? And you get here and you have people on your own, team in training that are challenging you for a spot. Then you take that into a field where you're going into even a more competitive market, right? So I think it's a big part of growing up is like each population or market that you move into becomes more and more competitive. So for some of them, the next step is going to be the real world in the job market, right? Well, you can be talented, but in order to continue to grow and advance, like you have to have the hunger to do more than what other talented people are willing and capable of doing. And again, like it's hard to teach that without them experiencing it firsthand and having somebody step on their chest and realize like, oh, that's what hunger's about,
Yep. Aleksey, so like you're more familiar like with how kids are growing up, like in their club soccer, it's pretty individualistic, right? You're not like a lot of teams, it's more about I need to get recruited, I need to shine individually, and they're not necessarily having a team culture ingrained in them. Is that fair to say?
Depends on the environment. If I'm in a good environment, I have a great coach who reminds me of that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be well prepared for the next level.
Right.
If you got, there is a lot. I'm not want to say uneducated coaches, but the coaches who's doing a job for $30 an hour or whatever it is, and it's twice, couple times a week. It's not enough for them to have that excitement about it. You know what I mean? So they'll do the job for that. You know what I mean? And that you kind of come up with those type of kids. But there's kids who are taken serious, and the coaches who take that serious. You know what I mean? And they are applying all the methods they can to prepare the kids for the next level. But it's not always at the training. It's always at home. How parents relate to you. You know what I mean? If I'm getting in the car and my dad says, all coaches fall. You know what I mean? And it's not you, son. You did well. Don't worry about it. Instead of maybe dad comes in and says, listen, I don't care about what you're saying to me. I don't want you to cry on my shoulder. Talk to your coach, sort it out with him, have a freaking man, be more precise with what you want to say, not to me, to him, you know what I mean? That type of stuff. And now if it comes out to that, then now you become that hunger, you know what I mean? You become like, okay, I cannot cry about it. I got to do something about it. What's the solution? I can't be looking for excuses. I need to look for solutions. What is the solution? You know what I mean? And for me, that's the most important thing, like with these youth kids. They're all technical. I tell you one thing, they are super technical now, these kids. They can do the things with the ball where, let's say in the 90s, they can. But I tell you one thing, they cannot understand simple movement sometimes. Movement that create the spaces. Me and you talked in the last podcast, how to create spaces, how to get in between the lines. To understanding that there's a fast break, what kind of intensity I got to run to. How can I run? Where do I run to? I need to run to create space for my teammates. And that's, for me, that's the cultural part that, because of that, all of this stuff now, the kids have all the YouTubes, all the highlights. They do watch highlights. They don't watch the game as a complete. Where in the past, I had 2 games a week I have to watch because that's what they show on TV. So I was stuck to the television screen watching those games in full because there was no YouTube. There was no, we were VCRs. If you have VCR, you were lucky. You know what I mean? But I watched the game. So for me was that I understood, wow, this is what the coach wants to, because this guy's making this type of run. Now the kid goes out and he goes in and he see all this craziness with the ball, which is all the parents go on the sidelines crazy. But there is no actual end result in that play. You know what I mean? Where the guy just does all the crazy stuff and now he plays the negative ball back. He looked good for a second, but there is no actual result in a play where, when I would say, keep it simple, but effectively. And that was, kind of the culture I was growing up.
Right. Yeah, I think I remember you talking about when you were a kid and you were with your dad. I guess you were really young, and maybe you were complaining or something, and he kind of put you in your place.
I didn't say a word. I was happy. I had a smile in the face. You know what I mean? We won a game, score a couple goals. You know what I mean? And he brings me down and he knocks me down and says, "Listen, what about those 2 plays where you are trying to make a fancy pass and you cut half of your team off? Yeah. That was an opportunity for our team." And I was like, "Dad, I scored 2. What are you talking about?" And then he hammers me down and says, "Well, listen, you want to make it? This needs to be improved." You see, where I don't know if it's necessary now with the kids now when they get in the car, where the parent says, "Kid, you did a great job. Don't worry about anything else. You know what I mean? Keep pointing out to me, which is, if you want to be complete, if you want to get to the top, that is just as important.
Yeah. 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 I think, I guess what I was trying to get at was that there's not that kind of culture, in youth soccer anyway at this point, where a lot of kids aren't even playing high school soccer, whereas you're playing for something and bigger than you necessarily, possibly. And I don't know how many kids you guys see that come in and they want to win for their team, and how do you develop that in kids who haven't really, I don't know, like, and I may be off base here, but they haven't really had to win for their team necessarily. Their performance is just fine in their minds.
See, for me, it was always important for me individually to do well, but the team was number one. As that was just losing was, I couldn't deal with losing, and that's what probably drove me to the training pitch the next day and the next morning and the next, whatever it is, the next opportunity for the game. I was waiting for it because the winning sat with me in my head, and it just kind of did crazy things to me too. And that's what kind of drove me to the improvement. Yeah. But on the flip side, I love the feeling of winning so much that I didn't want to be in a negative space. So I felt like after every good performance, I need to do even better. You know what I mean? Be having the same feeling. I was afraid not to give everything to the team or not to be prepared completely. I'm not saying every game I was like that. You know what I mean? There is some games I did not play well, but I tried to prepare myself in that state of mind.
Right. Do you feel like the effort was the same every time, or did you let off the gas sometimes?
As a human beings, we all have slip-ups. You know what I mean? We all have slip-ups. Like I was giving a speech at the ceremony, and I said there is a couple losses we had when in college that, you know what I mean, because we were not ready to. But the loss, we took it in the right mindset for the next game after, because we felt like that's not good enough, what we provided on the field. Not good enough to effort, not good enough, technical, everything else needs to raise it for us to win it. And I was not alone in that stuff. That's the beauty about it. That's the beauty about my college teams. We had some guys who, were really, really dedicated to be winners.
I was thinking earlier when you guys were talking about, probably your most famous alum, Jay Demerit, and he talks about like being prepared for your sunny day, and he remembers standing there at Watford, and they're playing in the promotion game or whatever, and he's like, I deserve to be here. And do you think that like having that attitude versus, does that not negate but kind of mitigate your nerves, and does it help provide confidence if you have that outlook about your upcoming performance, so to speak? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, yeah, it's a brilliant thought, and I mean, I think anybody that kind of goes into any sort of challenging situation with that mindset is setting themselves up for success, no doubt about it. I read a really good quote last night. I think it was like, most people give up or quit before their best performances have even occurred, right? Like if you have the mindset that your best still hasn't happened yet, like just keep pushing and keep working hard, and like it's still ahead of you. It's still ahead of you. So if you can teach kids how to be patient, how to enjoy the process rather than wait for this outcome to happen, then like they'll continue to grow and develop and get better as the years go on.
Yeah.
Well, in Jay's case, I feel like when he's standing right there before that game, for me, that's as a big time player, you have to think you are the best player every time you step on the field, no matter what the names are on the sheet from the opposite team, no matter what, if you play in Argentina or you play in Man City, you know what I mean? If you're coming out on the field and you don't think you are up to the challenge, meaning I am the best, at least today I am the best. Maybe paper says otherwise. Maybe people in the media says otherwise. But in my mind, I think I'm the best.
Right.
What about on your birthday? Do you have to think that you have a better body than Cristiano Ronaldo?
No, that's for sure. I told you that. And you kind of would put it in the picture. You know?
Mindset.
That's the mindset.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But again,
Better body
that
than
was
Ronaldo.
that was a joke in the I mean, maybe in my 20s, but you know. But again, it's for me. That's why Jay's made it, because you know he's standing and says, "I'm deserving. You know, I'm the shit. I'm sorry, my line, but that's what they have to believe that. If you
Right.
don't believe that, and if you're thinking, "Oh, okay, yeah, I'm here by surprise, and you know, I'm down in myself." Well, what for not getting out of that game? They losing. All you need is
Right.
one or two guys who don't think that way. You know what I mean? And then you got a big hole to fill on the field. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
that's the you know, you don't tell this to anybody. You know what I mean? You don't come out and say, yeah, I'm the best. Now you're putting a big target on yourself, and the guy who goes against you, oh, you're the best. Well, okay, now his level is raised up, but inside of your mind, you're thinking, okay, I gotta play against this guy today. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Today
So
I'm gonna be better.
do you think that like the best players, the best performers that you've had have had that mindset that I'm the best? Or do you
You
think that it's kind of in between where you does that keep you from wanting to improve if you think you're the best?
I don't think it's keep you. It actually, I mean, I think it drives you to improve.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have the feeling, for me is this: you play in a lesser opponent. And I say right now in college soccer, there is no lesser opponents, right? Everybody can beat anybody on it. But now, if you don't prepare for that, right, you might. But if you play in less an opponent, you can have the, well, yeah, I'm gonna destroy this guy. Now you're playing a top team. If you come out and you start doubting yourself, you are in trouble. But
Yeah.
if you come out and say, you know what, I mean, he goes to bathroom the same way I do. I mean, what's the difference? You know what I mean? He put the shoes the same way I do. He, you know, he's the food the same. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm just gonna show up and play. Today, I'm gonna be better. Maybe over the season or over a career, it's a different. But on any given day, if you have that mindset, I think you always set yourself up for success.
Right. Yeah.
But with that being said, the preparation comes in. Preparation into it. You know what I mean? You have to train well that week. You have to train well a couple days before. You know, you have to get enough sleep the day before. You know what I mean? You have to get enough food in you. You know what I mean? That the whole little things where people thinking, I'm just going to show up at 7:00 kickoff. That doesn't work like that.
Right.
That is line of items before you get to that kickoff time.
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe a mistake some people make is like just expecting to show up in it to work out for them, you know, but it's really a bunch of like minor wins along the way, like working with David in the weight room and like improving your, you know, whatever scores, you know, David, you know, you're measuring yourself on in the performance, strength performance, and then having good training sessions on the field with guys and just knowing that you've worked more and harder than everyone else. That's what builds confidence, not just showing up and
Yeah. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's just small little battles. You know what I mean? You have to do it every day. It's not. It's not. What is it called? A part-time job. It's a commitment. It's a commitment. And if you want to win, if you want to win, if you want to be average, and you know you have, you know, some wins, some losses, and you kind of in the middle of it, then you know what is. You want to win. Responsibility's got to kick in.
Yep. What else, gentlemen? Got anything else?
His mustache is unbelievable. This guy is freaking brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, are you handlebars in it?
You know.
Nice.
Come on,
I don't
guys.
think
The
I
lighting's great in here, but yeah.
All right. I mean, when I post this, let's get a really good picture of you. You know,
Yeah.
all twisted up. So do you just like let it grow on the ends? Is that what you do, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, you clean it up over the lip, but this keeps growing. And then I used to use product, but now it just kind of flips out naturally.
Yeah.
One of our other assistants tried to do it, and he gave up before his best performance. He was still in the process, and he gave up and shaved.
Wow. He knew that you were the best player on the field, so you know.
Hey, it's about lifting each other up.
He got
better than one.
He got into it. You know what I mean?
That's great.
The
Well, I mean,
best.
we'll have more on inside mustache growing next time. It's yeah. Anything else, guys? What do you think?
I mean, I just think I think there's an arrogance to like coaching and playing where you think you can just show up and you're going to be good enough, right? And this weekend when I'm resting up, I'm thinking to myself, man, I feel like I'm, getting a little like burnout at this point in the season. When I started to like inventory that what I was feeling, I think it's just emotional fatigue. Like I'm so emotionally fatigued because every day when I come to work, man, you want it for the kids, right? It's not like the hours. It's not like the physical difficulty of the job. It's the emotional aspect of like, have we done enough? Did I talk to this kid? Did I follow up with this kid? Da 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 da. And when you finally get home, you sit down on the couch and you got 5 minutes. You're just like, whoa, So whether you're a player or coach, I think like if you're not experiencing some of that, then you probably are being a little bit arrogant and thinking like, I'm just going to show up and it's going to be enough and we're going to be great. So for me, like that was just a reminder to myself that like, hey, the fact that I have that like emotional exhaustion is probably an indication that I'm doing my job. So I just think it's an important reminder for all of us.
And as a coaches, we do fail too. I mean, we don't do everything right. Trust me. I mean, we're trying to prepare, we're trying to get them right. And there is some weeks, I mean, I analyze myself every week, loss, win, what's working, what's not, you know what I mean? And then just after a loss, I'm sure I'm a lot more hard on myself as far as what needs to be done. Did I give him enough? You know what I mean? Or did I give him too much? That type of stuff, you start thinking about it. You know what I mean? Because you want to take responsibility. As a team goes as everybody together. As the last guy on the bench who had a knee surgery. I mean, he just as important as everybody else because I feel like that's the culture. And if everybody thinks that way and understand it, then, kids will be understand, okay, well, coaches, you know what I mean? They just tell us, they didn't do enough this week or they did something that, maybe didn't prepare us well. You have to be honest with yourself too. As a players, they have to be honest, but we as a coaches too.
Yeah, I mean, then the bottom line is that these seasons are intense. I mean, they're jamming 2 games into a week, and you guys have what, like, as the team coaches, not the time that they spend with you, David, but like you guys have 2 weeks, and then you're playing a match. Like you're asking kids to go win a game for you, right? I mean, it's crazy, and the amount of pressure that the players are feeling has got to be, it's pretty intense, and it's a lot to ask of an 18-year-old kid sometimes, I'm sure. So, which makes your guys' jobs even harder because you're having to help them figure it out. So, What else? Anything else?
Yeah, send my best to Augie and Coach Norris.
I will, definitely. Yeah, they need it. They've had a rough season. Probably, as Norris has said, they think they're the best 2-win team in the country right now. So,
believing.
Yep.
Still believing. That's how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, hold on one sec.